stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me, as me. Where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I play, God is blowing life in and out and through me, as me. Where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer, here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak, truth is. Where I play, love is always there. Where I live, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me, as me. Where I stand, where I am, where I play, where I work and move and feel and be, where I sing, wherever I go, where I work and pray and give and live, where I am, God is, life is, truth is, joy is. Thank you. Janet Allison Kohlmeyer, yes. And the music team, CSLDallas. Oh, wow. The eternal soul. Don't want to go there yet. Where I am, God is. I want to stay there just for a minute. Where I, just say that to yourself silently. Think it. Where I am, God is. Even if I move over here, where I am, God is. No matter where I am, God is. And if that's true for me, guess what? It's true for you too. So now just humor me and go back about 3 days to Thanksgiving. And think about what you did on Thanksgiving and who you were with and how you behaved. Did the people who were with you know that where you were at that moment, God also was? Yes, of course, because you're here at CSLDallas. You take God with you, and you know that God is with you everywhere you go. What about if you were in line on Black Friday or in the stores or shopping? Or what about on your way to CSLDallas this morning and there was a little bit of traffic and you were trying to get here by a certain time? Still, where I am, God is. Yes? Oh, you all are too easy. You know, I expected a little nervous laughter, like, oh, Tracy, you caught me. I really wasn't remembering that God was showing up in and out and through me, as Janet sang, as me. But when we know that, it makes us able to actually talk about and think about this idea called the eternal soul. The eternal soul. We have a document that called What We Believe that captures 12 things that are really core beliefs in science of mind. And one of those 12 is this one. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. Now, those are some really interesting words, and a lot of times people read them and they go, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Immortality. I've got immortality. And yes, your soul has immortality. Your soul is eternal, forever and ever expanding. So all you're experiencing right now is just this experience in this form. And it is just a part of the eternal you expanding. Now, I don't know what you expanded from. I don't know where you're expanding to. But right now, you are a part. You are having the human experience chapter in your eternal life. So this is one of our core beliefs, and as you know, we've been this year going through a lot of our core beliefs in the context of our global vision, creating a world that works for everyone. And this entire month, as Michael shared with you, we have been focusing on wholeness and what that means. We've had an opportunity to look at that individually. We've had the opportunity to consider that for our entire civilization when Dr. Edward was here a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about the ways that we're different from one another and that diversity is a part of the whole, and that in order to live in wholeness, we have to recognize both our similarities and our differences. And today, we get to talk about wholeness in the context of what does it mean to be eternal, to have a soul that is eternal. So there's this question, eternality, really? Really, Tracy? Eternality, does that really exist? Don't we have an expiration date? You know that little word that we don't like so much, that word starts with a D? Death. Right. So wait a minute. You know, eternality, how can we have eternality and how can we have an immortal soul and be eternal when we die? So let me ask you, I'm really asking you this question. That means you can talk to me. Let me ask you to name 4 or 5 things. What comes to mind when I say eternality? What is eternal? Forever. Give me examples. God, infinity, energy, light, love, spirit, that which is indestructible. So all of the attributes of God, all of the qualities of God, joy is actually eternal. There's no end to it. There's no end to peace or joy or balance or harmony. All of those things are eternal. What has expiration dates? Give me 4 or 5 examples. M-I-L-K, milk. What? The body, the planet, prescriptions. What has an expiration date on it in your house? Food, all kinds of food. I have a great memory. I will never, ever forget this idea about expiration dates again, because a few months ago I was traveling and I'd been gone for about 4 days, and I came home, and when I pulled into my garage, I noticed the light was on in the kitchen. And I was sure I had turned the light off in the kitchen. I was absolutely positive I had not left that light on, and there are some reasons why, but I was positive. And so at first, I forgot that where I am, God is. And I panicked, like, oh, did somebody break into my house? Oh, should I even go in? Maybe I should call my neighbor and have them go in with me. Should I call the police? I mean, what should I do? And then I took a deep breath, and I was like, Tracy, go in your house. Be cautious, but go in your house. There's no shadows moving like, when you pulled into the garage. So I open the door, and I step into, the den in my house, and the kitchen is over on the left. And I notice, well, the light's on, but the light over the table is not on. The ceiling light is not on. The light in my refrigerator. 4 days. Yeah. If I didn't know before that moment, I learned everything I ever need to know about expiration dates. Because, of course, the food in your refrigerator is usually perishable, and it is not designed to be at room temperature, especially when you knew you were going to be gone for 4 days and you did not leave the AC running and you let your house get to be like 80 or 81 degrees. So it was not designed to be at room temperature for 4 days, and all of the food had to be thrown away. That's an expiration date. Our bodies have an expiration date. And a lot of times we wish we knew exactly what that expiration date was going to be. But the reality is we need to live every day as if the expiration date could be today or tomorrow or tonight. So our bodies have an expiration date, like the food in my refrigerator and in my freezer. But my life, my soul, does not. It has no expiration date. It is designed to be eternal, to be immortal. We believe that. And when we are living in that way, we cannot help but represent the wholeness that is God, seeking to express within and through each one of us. So we don't really have to be afraid of this concept called death if we are living in a way that represents wholeness, that represents the love and the joy and all of those qualities that are eternal. That is what we are here to do. Ernest Holmes says that expressing wholeness, when we do that, we prepare not to die, but to live. We prepare to live today, this week, this month, in the fullness of the divine. We prepare to live in such a way that that wholeness lasts long beyond this physical earth suit body shell. And I don't know about you, but when I really started understanding this, it helped me no longer think of death as a scary thing, as a negative concept, as a problem that I needed to avoid at all costs. It made me really recognize that how I live right now can either represent life or death. Ricky Byers-Beckwith has a song, I'm Choosing Heaven Today. And I love listening to that song on a random basis because it reminds me that, oh, yeah, I get to choose, not prepare to die, but choose to live and to live full out. Who we are here is who we will be there, wherever there is. Whatever that next expression of the soul is, whatever form it takes. Who we are here, the soul that I allow to express itself here, is who I will be there. That is the idea of the eternality, immortality, and continuity of the individual soul. That individual soul is expressing. Now, there are some of you who don't want to be who you are here on the next time around, or that's a little scary for you. Well, you can choose today to begin to live in such a way that it will be a joyful experience for you to continue to express your soul in no matter what form it is. The caterpillar looks like the caterpillar dies, that physical form expires, it transforms into a butterfly. It's the same soul, simply expressed in a different form. So who we are here is who we will be there. So I invite you to be thinking about, am I living in such a way? Am I representing the wholeness of spirit now, so that no matter what form I take, create, or experience, that wholeness still expresses? In the last talk that Ernest Holmes gave at Asilomar, which was an annual retreat, the summer before he passed on, he said at the end of the week, something that each one of us might find ourselves saying at the end of service today or any Sunday. One cannot but feel from the human point in such meetings as these that it is entirely possible one might not be here next year. This is of complete indifference to me because I believe in life and I feel fine. Such an event is merely the climax of human events in anybody's life. And it is to be looked forward to, not with dread or fear or apprehension, but as the next great adventure. And an adventure we should all be very happy and glad to experience. He made that comment at the end of a week-long retreat, thinking about the next year's retreat, not knowing that he would not be alive in the physical presence to participate the following year. We might say that leaving the center today, because none of us knows whether we will be here next Sunday or Wednesday night. And it's all just moving to the next great adventure. Anytime I have trouble remembering that, or I get a little distracted, I think about a story that I'm familiar with, and some of you may be familiar with it too. The story involved two parents, and they had a daughter who was really very sick. She had asthma, and she was having to be rushed to the hospital all the time, or to the doctor's office. And this was an African-American family, and at the time that this was happening, they could not take their daughter to the closest hospital or the second closest hospital. They had to transport her to a doctor's office that was really pretty far away and through a lot of neighborhoods. And on this particular night, as they were transferring or taking their child to the doctor's office, there was a lot of tension because this particular asthma attack was worse than usual, and they were really concerned. And the dad was driving as fast as he could with both hands on the steering wheel and really pushing right up on the speed limit as he went through these residential and commercial neighborhoods, consciously aware that as a black man driving through some neighborhoods that were white, that he could get pulled over, and what would happen if he didn't get to the doctor's office quickly enough. And the mother sat in the passenger's seat, and she held this young child, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and was constantly just, breathing life into this child's spirit, and being so upset and watching for every signal and saying, just breathe, keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. And this couple had already lost a child maybe 8 years earlier. So it's particularly stressful for them to think about what would happen if this child died. And as they were thinking about that, the mother holding the young child realized that her daughter had stopped breathing. And she started yelling and screaming, "She's not breathing, she's not breathing." And the father just grabbed the steering wheel and didn't say a word, and he was breathing as hard as he could. And the mother kept saying, "Breathe, just breathe." And in that moment, as the child, what I realized was I was watching all of this happen, partially from the window on the passenger side, partially from the back seat, between the two, watching their reactions and listening to them, and then back at the passenger window, looking in, and I'm like, what does she mean I'm not breathing? I'm breathing. In that moment, I was on my next great adventure. And there was a voice that was very clear. And it spoke to me and said, they are doing the best they can. They are your parents. But you are responsible for your life. You are responsible for what you do, beginning now. You get to choose. Do you want to return and live the life that only you can live? Or do you want to leave this body and go on to another adventure, another experience? And in that moment, you can probably guess since I'm here, I chose to go back into the 6-year-old, 7-year-old version of this body. But from that experience, which a 6 or 7-year-old has no way to explain or understand or interpret, and so I didn't remember all the detail of it, but I remembered pieces of it along the way. Every time I needed a reminder that what I do and how I show up is up to me, and I can't blame other people, I would remember another little piece. Even as a teenager at 15 or 16, when my parents were going through a horrendous divorce and my family was in a mess, technical word, I somehow, in reading Emerson or something I read, I said, my motto is going to be, you always have a choice. And I fully understood as a teenager. I couldn't choose everything that happened, but I could always choose what I would do next or how I would show up or how I would recover, that I had choice about that. And every one of you do as well. It wasn't until even later that I realized that was the exact phrase I heard, you get to choose. But living from a place of wholeness, that is what it is about. Everything in life is the next great adventure, whether I am in this body or I am out of this body and in a completely different form. Are you willing to look at and to consider that this body is not the end of you? Are you willing to consider that there actually is more for you to do and experience? That there is a great adventure ahead of you? That the eternal soul is operating in, as, and through you right now, and it always will? Are you willing to remember that you have an eternal soul, that death is not extinguishing the light, whether that's a lowercase l or a capital L? Death of the body does not extinguish the light. That death is only putting out the lamp, because the dawn has come and you no longer need this body. You are stepping into a new day, a new adventure, a new opportunity to express the wholeness that you already are, but in a different way that you've never expressed it before. And I don't know what that's going to look like for me or for you or for anybody, but I am completely and totally convinced that it is the truth. I am completely and totally convinced, and I believe 100% in the continuation of the personal life beyond the grave. Ernest Holmes teaches us that, but that doesn't mean we have to believe it. But I believe it. And I hope you believe it too, or at least during this week, you'll play with that idea that there is a continuation of who you are. You get to operate in the wholeness of who you are right here and right now on this plane, in this earth suit, and it's never over. It's never over. Helen Lessman said, "Let me never be afraid of endings or beginnings. Teach me to embrace all of life with joy." This is what the eternal soul calls me to do. Enjoy and embrace all of life with joy. And I invite you to do the same. Please join me in prayer. Teach me to embrace all of life with joy. There is only one power, one presence, one life. That life is God's life. And what I know is true about God's life is that God's life is eternal joy, peace, love, harmony, balance, wholeness, prosperity, abundance. God's life is the full and total expression. And God's life is my life now. God's life is the life of each one present, right here and right now, for having been made in the spiritual image and likeness of the Creator. There is nothing that can separate any one of us from that source of life, that source of joy, that source of wholeness and wellness. And so it is right here and right now that I step into the commitment to be that fullness of life, to be love, to be the example of joy. I commit right here and right now to ready myself for the next adventure by living in wholeness right now. The eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul is operating right in my life, in every word I speak, in every action I take. And we all commit to be the example of that this week and every week, that we have the gift of life. So as we close out the Thanksgiving weekend, we know that every ending is just a beginning. And we commit totally, wholly, completely to expressing gratitude for every opportunity to be the example of love in the world, now and forevermore. So we release with gratitude for this and so much more. Releasing all doubt, releasing any attachment to drama, releasing everything that is out of alignment with the truth. We simply stand together. We stand together in joy and love. We stand together in eternal life. Anchoring this prayer by saying Amen, Ashe, Aho, Amin, and so it is.